Well, I'm on the city council too.
Well, I know, but he's on everything, so.
Yeah, I'm all three right
He
now.
could be a citizen rep too.
Oh my god. Oh.
Look at them all there.
No,
That's all.
I don't think they'll let me talk that long yet. They got another meeting at 1 and one at 3. Oh, Scott, what are you doing?
Hey, Mr. Island here.
Hey, we wish we would have had it working.
I was in Dallas. Wisconsin, Dallas.
I know you were. You can make that up next week, next month.
Yeah.
Do that, I did. Yeah, we should have had that when you were here. Usually that commissioners here. They ask a question.
And you gotta do that officially because
Yes, we already found. Memphis
Oh, they were down there.
we're around it.
Just skip
Is that for your LEPC day? I'm fine with that.
No, we actually had.
we did.
We did one off years ago, and then bond you get every. Your system, who's your system?
Yes, ma'am. Georgie Porter.
We haven't hired her in here yet, so.
All right.
Okay, it's 11:01, call the meeting to order.
Yep.
Looking for approval on November 7th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Got secretary all caught up over there?
Yes. Jen is on the phone, she's unable to make it.
Okay, any questions, comments, concerns about the minutes? If not, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Public comment. Is anybody here with the public that has a comment? Yes, sir.
I got a public comment.
Alright.
The other day at the council meeting, they were talking about, the reconstruction of the highway going from the Brookline Bridge or the bridge right here in town going east. They'd like to have a bike trail added to that, plan. So they already been talking to the DOT about it, but they'd like a bike trail at least to the fairgrounds, around the corner there to East Mart. But there's room enough for the bike trail too, so.
From the bridge?
Yeah, going east, yeah. Well, a lot of guys
Nice girl
ride
to
the
talk to, right?
bicycle. They ride the bicycle even to the nursing home or the high school,
Okay.
or the Teaway, the golf course.
Jen, did you hear all that?
I didn't catch it all. I believe it's talking about bike lane from the bridge out with the project this summer.
Yeah, probably up to at least the high school.
I know it's been discussed, and I believe our project team was talking with the city,
Okay,
Oh, well, okay.
on options, if it would be able to be done with this project or not, as the project has already been let.
yeah, I mean, the roadway's plenty wide enough, I think, I don't know that it'd be an issue just to put in a lane there for
Okay,
them.
perfect time to do it,
Anyhow, that was his question, so,
Okay.
anything else?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else, public comment? If not, I'll close public comment. And we're gonna jump right to Dan.
Alright. Coming back here, since we are in the midst of the first quarter, we'll take a look back as we do at 2023 and see how the year treated us. There we go. So looking at looking back at last year and how the state rounded out from a level view. Total number of crashes, about 108,000 crashes, which is down a little bit from the 2 previous years. You can see the corresponding number of injuries. Injuries actually went up even though the crashes went down. But fortunately the fatalities for us are down from where they were the 2 previous years. These are, of course, preliminary numbers. They will fluctuate just a bit, when we, as we move forward, as some of the cases get tested out. Now, these are deer crashes. If we include the deer crashes in with that, you'll see that statewide, we had about 16,000 deer crashes, resulting in 14 fatalities, 585 injuries, just from striking deer. So moving forward, what has been decided is we're going to go back to what we used to do and include those deer crashes back in the numbers, because they are affecting traffic safety, and as people strike them, especially motorcyclists and whatnot, they have a tendency to become injured or even killed when it comes to that. So just kind of keep that in mind. I know for a couple of years we were excluding those deer crashes from the general tally. We're gonna go ahead and put those back in again. Countywide, we had reported in the DOT 218 crashes, which is pretty consistent with the two previous years. Injuries did go up a little bit, and we did have 3 fatalities in calendar year 23. That is our 5-year rolling average for fatalities, so we were right where we would expect to be. The 3 fatalities we talked about before, 1 in the second quarter and 2 in the third quarter, fortunately none in the fourth quarter. At the state level, we average about 0.4% fatality to crash ratio. Just to let you know, in the county here, low number of crashes relatively to other counties, but our fatality rate is actually 1.4%, so we are above 3 times the state average when it comes to that. And some of that is just because of the nature of the crashes, and when you have low numbers, that number can fluctuate a little bit. So we are a little higher than the rest of the state. When we take a look at the fatality distribution across the board, pretty consistent. Serious crashes were notably higher, as well as the suspected injuries. That was up almost 50%. Overall, we're pretty consistent though. When you take a look at that 5-year change number, taking a look at 2023 and comparing it to the previous 5 years, and taking the average of that, actually it's not a big swing. Though we are getting more serious injuries that come out of that, again, small numbers can have a big fluctuation in those percentages. So no red flags that came out of that. When it comes to taking a look at the causes of crashes, speed number 1 for us, as it has been traditionally. About 22% of our crashes involve inappropriate speed of some type. Officers determined distracted driving at about 10% of our crashes, which is up a little bit. Aggressive driving at about 5%, which is also up just a little bit. No red flags there, and the percentages are pretty consistent with what we've seen for the previous 5 years worth of history. Taking a look at the nature of the crashes, the single unit lane departure crashes again comes in at number 1. We would expect to see that in a county like ours at almost 43% of our crashes. So when a vehicle leaves its designated lane and typically runs off the road, strikes a tree or a culvert or something like that, that's what we would expect to see at the top of the list, and historically that's what we've seen as well. Intersection related crashes is up a little bit, at almost 18% of our crashes, so that's a little bit of a rise over the recent history when we've been tracking these. And then the multiple unit lane departure crashes at almost 7%, that's down a touch. So when a vehicle leaves its lane and strikes another vehicle, typically while it's in transit, so a head-on crash or a side swipe, something like that would be a multiple unit lane departure crash at about 7%. Taking a look at occupant protection, we are about the state average. That's about what we see for the rest of the state. So if we take the crashes where the officer is investigating and we extrapolate that to the general driving public, since we haven't done a seatbelt survey here, almost 14% of the vehicles that were involved in a crash had somebody in there that wasn't properly wearing their occupant protection. So typically seatbelts, but it can also include, remember, motorcyclists that are not wearing a helmet or eye protection when they're required to have that. So about what we see in the rest of the state. Winter roads, last calendar year, almost 18% of our crashes happened on roads that were ice, slush, or snow covered, which is down a little bit from what we've seen before. And we're seeing that across the entire state, so not that that's necessarily a contributing factor in the crash, just a characteristic of the roadway that we've been asked to report. So about 18% is pretty typical for what we saw for counties around us in the region. Work zone crashes, we did have, I believe the number is 6 crashes in a work zone were identified, and that's up. That's unusually high for us. We didn't see that in the previous 5 years. So about 3% of the crashes in work zones is a little unusual for us. We'll be watching that in the 24 season as we move forward. Impaired drivers, about almost 14% of our crashes involved a driver where alcohol and or drugs were suspected, or a citation or criminal charge was issued. That's up. Typically we're not, we haven't been reporting that high, but the 14% is not unusual. So that isn't a red flag for us. It's just higher than what we've reported previously. But for counties around us, the neighborhood of 12 to 15% is not uncommon. That's what we would expect. Anything outside of that, we'd have to take a little bit closer look and see what's going on. Taking a look at the crashes involving something other than just automobiles and light trucks. We did have 1 pedestrian struck last year, along with 1 bicyclist. We did have 10 motorcycles and 10 commercial motor vehicles that were involved in crashes, and we had no horse and buggy crashes across the county, so that's good. In the previous 5 years, we've only had 1 horse and buggy crash reported to DOT, so that's why that 0 shows an 80% drop, because we did have 1 of the previous 5 years. We typically don't have bicyclists that are struck, so that's a little unusual for us. But those are the numbers for those other type of roadway users that are out there. Taking a look at our quarterly data quality reminder. For us, we always take a look in the first quarter at how law enforcement is doing as far as accuracy of reporting crash locations. And once again, I'm very proud to announce that for all departments and all jurisdictions within the county, we are at 100% accuracy rate, which you don't see very often. So kudos to those folks that are out there doing that, making sure that they're paying attention to detail. Statewide, we see just over 99%. So I guess that would be the benchmark for the rest of the law enforcement community. But once again, for the 3rd year in a row, we are at 100% accuracy. So appreciate the effort that's being put in there. Dates to watch for first quarter. We went over these last time, taking a look ahead. For us, the Super Bowl is the next marker where we're doing the impaired driving campaign. That's the Friends Don't Let Friends Drive Drunk campaign, with DOT's special emphasis this year on concentrating a little bit more on not just alcohol for those operators that are out on the highway, but also other substances too. And then March, we move forward with the St. Patrick's Day campaign that revolves around that near mid-March. That's the Buzz Driving is Drunk Driving campaign. And then looking ahead into the second quarter of this year, we do have a couple of high visibility law enforcement campaigns coming up for distracted driving, for seatbelt usage, and those kind of things. So looking forward to the middle of the year, we're starting to transition away from the heavy alcohol campaigns and starting to work into some of those other campaigns that are on the horizon for us. Save the date for you. Some of you may have been previously informed about the Governor's Conference on Highway Safety, which is coming up in August. Those dates may have shifted for you, so if you had an early notice of the save the date, just to let you know that this has been updated. It is now the 19th, 20th, and 21st. The committee is already receiving input as far as putting an agenda together, and as soon as we have one, we will get that to you. It's going to be at the Kalahari again in Wisconsin Dells, so it was a good venue for us last year. The main conference is the 20th and 21st, the 19th being that pre-training day. That's where a lot of specialty training's done and meetings are had that day. So if you have somebody that needs to get trained up on e-grants or traffic incident management, those free classes will all be on the 19th. It's kind of separate from the rest of the conference, but we always have that on there as well. And then the DREs are gonna actually meet all day on the 21st, where the rest of us will just be a half a day. So join us down in Wisconsin Dells for the Governor's Conference if you are available and so inclined. Taking a look at traffic safety related legislation since the last time we met, the governor did sign 3 bills into law. He signed 23 Act 44, which deals with folks that are in the military and the requirements for them to get a probationary license. Act 45 is a minor bill that no longer requires car dealerships to have physical copies of temporary license plates on hand. Not a big one. Act 57 though is the DOT emergency contact records bill. We had talked about this a couple quarters ago. This allows operators to attach information to their driver's record where they can have emergency contact information. It's a voluntary program. So if you're involved in a motor vehicle crash and you're incapable of giving your emergency contact info to the law enforcement or EMS that's out there, the dispatcher or the officer can pull up your DOT record and get your emergency contact information right off of there. So just in case you're unable to respond. We are in a, I'm sorry, there were 6 bills that were signed. Act 59 deals with increasing the availability of disabled parking on UW campuses. Act 64 allows for rural public electric co-ops to operate ATVs on the roadway during an emergency. And then Act 86 awards grant money to low-income individuals who are taking driver's ed who can't afford to pay for those classes on their own, and it provides for a pool of money to do that. Otherwise, we are in the midst of a flurry of activity now that the legislature's back in session for the remainder of the biennium. Lots of activity as far as public hearings and whatnot. You've seen a lot of these proposals before. If any of them catch your attention, we can certainly stop and talk about it. But several pages of traffic safety related legislation working their way through, and last week was a flurry of activities in Madison as far as that goes. Just a reminder for you that if you want to keep up on this stuff, Community Maps has that link that has the weekly update as far as what happened down in the legislature for all things traffic safety related or law enforcement related. Those are all there for you to take a look at every week, and that's open to the public. Everyone's allowed to go in there and take a look. So no big bills, no surprises so far, but as always, you keep an eye on this stuff, and if anything big comes up, we'll certainly let you know. Just to, if you're not familiar with Project Yellow Light, just to let you know that this is underway right now. If you have a high school junior or senior, or somebody who is doing undergraduate study and they're 25 or under, they're eligible for a scholarship under Project Yellow Light. This is the annual campaign to target younger drivers as far as safe driving behavior, and it's geared towards having younger people create ad space for younger people, so things that they can relate to. There is a video scholarship if they want to put a video together relating to traffic safety. There's also billboard and radio scholarships that are available as well. $2,000 for the latter. The video is $8,000. You can see the due dates that are there. If you're interested, you have somebody that's interested getting a little scholarship money and they're creative when it comes to this. ProjectYellowlight.com is the website. You can go on there and take a look. We are announcing 2 drug recognition expert schools that BOTS is funding this year. One that starts in April and one that starts in October. Again, just like last year, all expenses are paid, so if you have a law enforcement officer that's available and interested in being a DRE, we will pay for salary, transportation, lodging, meals, and all their equipment that they get. And Steve is once again the statewide coordinator, is the point of contact for that. If you have somebody that's interested, certainly reach out to him and let him know. We are also doing something a little bit different in the world of blood draws. We are starting a law enforcement phlebotomy program. We have a pilot class that is being put together right now with 25 folks, and what this is for areas that have issues with drawing blood for OWIs and similar situations. The law enforcement phlebotomy program is designed to train up law enforcement officers or corrections officers in how to be a phlebotomist, so they can do the blood draw right at the hospital and those kind of things. So lots of places have great relationships with their local hospitals, and they don't need that, but there are parts of the state that do. That program is underway. We will be the 10th state in the country to have a law enforcement phlebotomy program. We're currently educating folks on the program, partnering up with a medical college, and that those negotiations are just about done, so they can have the curriculum all set. If you're interested in law enforcement phlebotomy, those are the points of contact on there. They can get you more information as far as that goes. So those are on my slides, and happy to share that with you if you are interested. The folks in the engineers have asked us to kind of do a little explanation. Apparently there have been a lot of questions about how they determine winter road conditions as far as the 511 system goes. If you don't know, typically law enforcement will be reporting in through dispatch into the State Traffic Operations Center as far as how roads are, so that you can determine whether how to post those major arteries on 511 to let folks know how safe the roads are. And a little bit of a shift in how it was done a number of years ago, but we're using the maintenance decision support system, which the state has been using for a while, but we're now letting that kind of determine what those roadways are like. A lot of roadways and a lot of time spent collecting information from law enforcement, which we still get. However, we've cut down the number of reports that we actually get from the field, trying to make it a little bit more automated, getting weather and information from a number of different sources, using the road weather information system, bringing that into the model, and then the algorithm will generate what the road conditions are like after we include in some of the pavement detectors and some of the field units that actually have AVL on board, mostly snowplows and those kind of things. A lot of agencies will provide information for that. That all gets transmitted to the STOC, and a score is given for those particular stretches of roadway. They always have the ability to go in there and override it, especially for treacherous roadway conditions. Those are all pretty much automated now, so that will cut down the amount of time that we have to pester those folks that are out in the field to try to get roadway conditions from them. And if there's more information needed on that, I do have points of contact in my slides as well, so I can provide that for you if you're interested. And as always, I provide my contact information. If there's something I can do for you, feel free to reach out to me. That's what I've got for you this time around.
Thanks, Dan. No highway traffic safety coordinator here. No, he's down here, highway commissioner.
I'll say that.
So, law enforcement, again, everybody has a copy of our crash data, and this pretty much correlates with what Dan puts up there. We got a big jump on this year, Dan, already with 2 fatalities already, 2 days in a row. The only other thing I got is, on mine is the BD road crossing, we've been working on that. Scott and I discussed this, Scott talked with Jen, I believe, and, flashing lights are ordered, is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, we did the permitting on Highway 8 there for the lights, and this DOT approved it, so the lights are on order. I called her today, and they said that they will be shipped to 16, so, the 16th they will be shipped out to our facility, so they are on their way.
So, that's where we're at with that project. I have nothing else, unless somebody has a question for me. If not, Tom, emergency management.
We're doing a commodity flow study right now, transportation based, truck and train. Last time we did one a couple years ago, I think we had 5 counties, this time we have 3 or 4 that are involved. Barron County opted out, because, some reason, I don't know why, but, 5 Bugles out of Eau Claire is doing that, they're a consulting firm. So we're gathering stuff, the fire department's gathering stuff from the railroad, give it to him, and then he's gonna give us kind of a layout of what we got going through here every day, which should be nice. Without me having to sit out and watch the trains go by. And I'm doing a hazmat drill with the sheriff's department on April 9th. So,
And you're going to invite Steve.
April 9th.
so that's
What's the date on the other one?
April 9th,
You're,
And on the first?
the commodity flow study, it's underway right now.
Oh,
It'll take several months for them to get that put together. I was hoping the railroad would show up for once here today, but they didn't, so I'll get a hold of it. That's it for us right now. We are, on the EMS side, we are planning a joint drill with Cornell. I think it's gonna be a boat versus jet ski type accident down on, but they wanna do it in April, and I sure as hell ain't getting in that water in April.
Why? It's warm out.
I'm
Water
trying
won't
to talk
even
him
get cold
into a
this year.
tabletop first, and then let's do the water thing in like July, and then Fat Boy will get in the water, but, yeah. So that's kinda 3 drills already coming up. Cause we had one with public health last week, so that's it.
Public health, Mrs. Buckley.
The only thing that might relate is we started our community health improvement plan, which is like a 3-year process. And one of our objectives is to increase physical activity in the community, so like bike path and stuff is kind of interesting to us, but that's about the only
Okay.
correlation I see.
That brings us to you, Jen.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but I just wanna get, so I have the updates for the projects. US Highway 8, River Avenue to the county line, that is resurfaced with lane closures, with flagging, or closures for sidewalk as needed in the different communities. Like I said, they are talking, I know there was an inquiry about the bike lane, I cannot say if it will or will not be included, just because that's a project that, and I haven't got an update from them yet. And then the other one I had talked about in our last meeting was Little Soft Maple bridge replacement on US Highway 8, replacing a box culvert that's currently there. That has actually been moved out, to next year, and it'll be let in December of this year.
What's your dates for 8 to the county line, from the city here?
I do not have a schedule for it. I've been out of the office the last few days, and so I was not able to get a schedule for it in time for the meeting.
Okay.
And then as you said, BP Road, we've approved that permit for the flashing beacons. And then the town of Willard, we did, look at it, and DOT will be installing the EMS warning sign
brings us to, AV, Wisconsin State Patrol.
Alright, well, didn't already cover the tunnel over,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna talk about that. Just through pre-COVID analytic zones, we'll just have a trooper dedicated area for the last 3 years in the daytime hours. The area, I believe, was between Pollock and Highway 27. Just that area, so at least 2-3 times a week, if they can, they'll be in that area, for their shift. And then also brings us to, State Patrol piloting a 10-hour shift, so our troopers will be in the area a little bit longer. About 8 hours as opposed to 6 hours shift, just increasing the time to patrol in the area, so. And that's at least through April 20th, not sure if we'll continue past that, but starting in the month of April.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay. Rusk County Highway Commissioner, Scott.
We've been kind of working as a big, district, the northwest region of the highway commissioners, including everybody, the counties northwest. They were down, last week, down to the big house down there. We're trying to get some new laws passed, trying to keep the work zones safe. They're talking about implementing, putting cameras in our work zones to keep care of the traffic. Seeing if our flaggers would be able to call into the sheriff department, report, if we have any problems, stuff like that. We did do a thing with the green lights now, of our emergency vehicles. That is going through pretty good. But otherwise, we are still working, Highway 8, as far as I understood, is still on motion for this year to the county line, but our maps are showing far out on the rest of the roads, 2030 for 73, Highway 40 is like 2030, 29 in that area. So we're working with the state right now and trying to figure out what we can do to try to update these roads a little bit more, because I don't know if our state roads around here are gonna last that much longer, so I am kinda working on that right now. That's pretty much all I got right
Okay. And Mike, you don't have anything from the city or the county, do you? No. Okay. So that brings us to RCTC, Mike.
Just one thing I wanna bring up is, we had staffing last month and we went through the proper use of fire extinguishers with all our drive staff. Doug Pavlik came out and gave us the demonstration with the garbage can and that. Pretty interesting, you know what I mean? You thought they had to rush right up to the garbage can, put it out, and he showed different ways of doing that, so you don't panic. And then the other thing we went through is the policy procedures for the drive staff involved in an accident or an incident on the road or highway. And, there again, number one thing was not to panic and make sure we use the telephone to make sure 911, and also the staff at the dispatchers at the transit. And then the safety of the passengers too, that's number one priority, so it worked out good. It was a perfect thing cause our staff is up to date now, before we were kind of restricted on our staff cause of the COVID thing, and now we're starting to get right up to snuff, so it was good for all the new drive staff too, so worked out good. That's all I have.
Alright. Nobody else is here. Any public request? None heard. Our next meeting date is May 7th, 2024 at 11 o'clock right here in County Board Room. Anybody else, any questions, comments, concerns that they wanna bring up? If not, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, we are adjourned. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jen.